Welcome to Worlds Collide, a wrestling card podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans, featuring Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com.
This is like a stock market.
And Zhan Morning from Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, I'm just posing the question. Join them as they navigate the world of wrestling cards, helping you build a bigger and better collection and making some money along the way. What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to Worlds Collide. Once again, I'm Zhan Morning with Wrestling with Cards on YouTube.
And I am Tony Vella with WrestlingTradingCards.com.
The best website for wrestling card resources. I use it all the time.
Well, we're trying to be. We're catching up now.
Hey,
after
if PSA can use it, everyone can use it.
Yeah, after a 5-year layoff, I think we're bringing it back. We've got a lot of great guys out there like yourself and Chuckster and Nick and all these guys out there who really kept a lot of information on all the new stuff. So we're going to need it.
Speaking of bringing it back and reviving, I think today's topic is perfect for that because that's what a lot of people are doing with their old collections right now, and that's investing in wrestling cards.
Correct.
It's a hot topic. It's a kind of a touchy subject with some like these get off my lawn grandpa collectors that are in the world. So a lot of them probably aren't even going to listen to this, but you invest in wrestling cards just like any other type of card, any other type of collectible in the space. There are different ways to do that. And hopefully that's what, if this is something that interests you, that's what we're going to help with today. But I mean, really, if you're buying cards, that's kind of an investment, even if you're buying a penny card or you're spending thousands of dollars. So what exactly to you does investing in wrestling cards mean?
Well, to me, it's different than it was when I first started collecting wrestling cards. I invested it for the fun. That was my investment, was fun. Now I'm kind of investing it because it's kind of being treated like stocks. So
Yep.
I have things that I like that are kind of cool to have and I collect on that side. But on the other side, now I'm like really focused on trying to like, hey, maybe I can turn this into something and I can kind of use it as a stock option now to kind of like, hey, it's appreciated so much. So now I'm time to cash in on that. Maybe, do something nice with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. We've talked in the past about, base cards and parallels, and you don't see a lot of value of the base. And that's kind of why I will collect base cards because I love them. And we'll kind of get into that later in the show about reasons to collect what you like and then also hedge that with higher end cards. But to me, like, I can't see a lot of point in putting a lot of money into base cards. Put some if you want, because that's the whole reason we started doing this, is to have fun. But I've just started focusing on a lot of, I wouldn't say higher end cards, but like the pop culture wrestling side, because I think it just appeals to more people. For example, we saw in the Super Bowl, we saw Batista and John Cena, both on Super Bowl ads. So, if you saw them on the street, if you show, hey, I've got this Batista card, like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Or, he's in Guardians of the Galaxy, or I've seen him in this movie or this Super Bowl ad. If you hold up, AJ Styles, they're not, no one's going to know who that is unless you're a wrestling fan. So that's kind of where I'm going. And then I also on the side collect stuff like my Road Warriors or, the Carnation 6-card set. I'm 1 card shy of that, trying to finish that. And then just kind of some other odds and ends stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as like how you can invest. And there's more stuff we can talk about, but anything else right off the top of the bat that you can think of?
I mean, maybe people like to invest because you do it just for the pure pleasure. Sometimes you're just investing in stuff like because it's nostalgia. Maybe you're looking for short-term sales. Maybe you're looking for long-term holdings. I mean, who knows?
Both good options.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think most of the long-term stuff is better for wrestling cards. Do you think?
Yes. I mean, we've seen a lot of new record sales lately. With
unbelievable.
Some of those, it's just unbelievable stuff, actually. Yeah. And it's not even strictly wrestling. It's sometimes even wrestling related. So when you have like a Dwayne Johnson football card selling for $45,000, I mean, it just has, it's just mind blowing.
And here's my thoughts on that. So let's say money's not an issue and me and you both have $45,000. If I bought that card, I would be buying that card because it's awesome. Like, it's,
Yep.
yeah, it's a fantastic investment, but it's also going to be on display for me for however long I feel like doing it. That is not something that I would buy to just turn on and flip. That's not how I look at wrestling cards a lot. There are ways to flip, and we can get into that in a minute. But do you agree with my point on that as far as like high end wrestling?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to have that kind of money, you're buying that high end stuff. You're buying because you love it. I don't think your initial thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some people do buy things just to. Yeah, I think if I'm spending $45,000 on it, then somebody else out there probably wants to spend 55,000 on it. So maybe I'm. I mean, there's obviously some investment thought process involved, but I think people buying cards of that value buy them because they love them.
Yeah, and that's why I would buy it. But I, like you said, in the back of my mind, I would think, well, if I got it for 45, somebody's going to pay more than that. But I'm going to let them wait on that, and I might think about it in 10 years, 20 years,
Sure.
30 years. That's how I go about it on super high end stuff. Talking about different ways to invest, one thing I like to do is and it is flipping, but it's not time based. You know, we see a lot of these sports cards. They want to try to get the card in, get it graded, get it back right when the season starts or right when this guy has a good game. The thing with
Hmm.
wrestling is you don't have to do that. You know, if you're stocking up on 85 Hogans, get them when you get them, grade them when you grade them. Time doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it doesn't matter. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's what's fantastic about wrestling cards. You know, you can pick up anything, really anything for, under $10, spend another $12 to $20 to get it graded. It gets back when it gets back, and then you can sell it for whatever you want. But the thing I really like about this is um, I'll just use this 87 Bret Hart. That's considered to be his rookie card or whatever.
Sure.
I got one recently for like $10. Just randomly found it, and the condition, I don't know, may grade like a 7 or something, but I don't care. Like if I get it and I get stuck with it, it's a cool card. So
Yeah.
that's the other kind of aspect I like to do on it personally, is only buying the stuff I really like that I'm okay with if I get stuck with. What do you do as far as like any kind of flipping, or do you see that even as investing?
I'm actually, because this is kind of more your area of expertise. I'm really getting into this now. I'm new to this. So I'm always coming to you and the David Pecks of the worlds like that and trying to ask for advice. Um, you know, I'm slowly getting away from like becoming less attached to things.
Yeah, it's
As
hard.
far as it's hard because I still look at them and it, when I look at an Andre card or I look at a Hogan card, it's like it takes me back to a moment when I was really into following wrestling a lot. And it's like I remember those matches. So there's still that aspect of it where it's nostalgia, but now as an adult, I'm kind of looking at things more from like I am looking at things from a money standpoint, like will this have a good return on my investment 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road? Can I flip this real quick? Can I buy it for 20 because I got a great deal on it, but flip it for 100?
Right.
I don't know. So it's kind of a new avenue for me right now. So this is why I'm really interested in talking about this.
That segues perfectly into our next topic, which is collectors versus investors. And I think you probably, like, I understand both sides, but like I think I get very irritated with some of the collectors. And I say that because like you see these people sitting on potentially like hundreds of thousands of dollars that could be life-changing money and could like, like take a lot of
I don't know
burden.
anybody like that.
I I see people out there, and I'm just
I know nobody like that.
okay. Well, if you don't, then let's say you do hypothetically.
Now,
um,
I kind of feel like that person because I'm going through storage, as you know, right now. And when I post on Twitter a lot, things I'm finding in storage from my collection that I've collected. And I found like, I didn't know I had 5 of these. I didn't know I had 10 of these. I didn't know I had this card.
so
You
this is
know,
a perfect example. So you've got that, and you already established like the money that you could generate from those after they're graded or just selling them raw, whatever. The money you could generate from those is actually going to probably be more beneficial than them just sitting there for your collection. Do you think?
right now it's been eating money out of my wallet by sitting in storage all these years. I
Yeah,
might as well
that's
start turning that something into, profitable that I can use. Maybe let's just be far fetched. Let's say I have a couple $100,000 worth of cards, sitting in storage.
mm-hmm.
That could be a house. That could be
Exactly.
that could be something down the road. I could take care of my family with it. It's like, um, but not also to say that I might not reinvest in something else. Like maybe I have a bunch of cards that I can flip for a nice little chunk of profit, but I want to take all that money and go buy a higher end card that maybe either I like, because I've always wanted to have that card, never had it, or I know that it's a good investment because that card's just going to go nowhere but up.
That's exactly what I do, is try to keep all the money I spend in that. And then, it's there if you need to get out of it. That's another, some of the higher end wrestling stuff isn't as liquid, but there's more and more people coming in. So the market's getting higher and higher for some of that stuff, making it more liquid. But as far as the collecting goes, like, that's the whole reason we got into this, is to keep
Yes.
cards. So I think you've got to, like, here I am, like, saying, oh, these collectors need to let go of their collections. Not necessarily. Like, I think it depends on the circumstance. I think there are people that have life-changing money sitting in binders and sitting in 5,000 count boxes.
But you and I both know guys who are like that. I mean, I don't mind because, Chuckster's a great guy, so like that. But Chuckster's been collecting for 40 years, and he's got an amazing collection of cards. And Paul from Wrestling Price Guide. I mean, he has amazing cards, an amazing collection of stuff, but they have no desire to grade and or sell. None.
Well,
no matter how much it's worth.
Yeah, and the other situation is, like, I don't know what the personal situation is, but
well, I mean, one sells real estate, so probably doesn't really care, and the other's retired.
Yeah, so they don't need it, they don't care. So
I guess,
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Then
I'm definitely hitting up Chuckster, like, hey, so do you have any beneficiaries?
You heard it, Chuckster. It's on record. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm always going to keep stuff. It's just, if, like, personally, if I had a house, the equivalence of a house sitting in a box, I would look to, like, I think long term, if you were going to buy a house and say use that as a rent, that rent's going to draw you more money and equity over time than the card in a box. That's just my perspective. Now, that being said, if that same card is something that I'm super attached to, but that's like the only card I own, why would you want to get rid of it?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have your favorites. I've got some things probably that I'm going to stumble across when I start going through storage more, going, I've always wondered where this was at, or I totally forgot about this. It's a cool piece. I can't let this go. This is what I remember when I bought this and where I was at. I mean, certain pieces have, yeah, certain pieces are just like, it's nostalgia. It really is. It just brings you back to something. But then there's other stuff, like most of the modern stuff for me means nothing to me. If I have something that's a high end from something modern, like I pull a one of something, or a hot demand card, I have really no attachment to it at all. But you start getting stuff from the 80s and 90s kind of stuff, maybe I want to keep that Road Warrior set. Maybe I want to keep that Hulk Hogan car, or something. You never know. But then again, everybody has a price. As $1 Million Man says, everybody has a price.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think it's cool to like go through your collection, if it's not, thousands. Go through your collection every so often and be like, is this something I need to keep? Yes or no? Move on. Is this something I need to keep? Yes or no? And just kind of, pare it down, because anything that's constantly staying in the this is staying category is something you're never going to want to get rid of. So let's talk a little bit about different ways that you personally like to invest. And this could be literally anything. What's your favorite way to make money and still have fun within wrestling cards?
For me, I'm learning this as I'm going on right now, as a matter of fact, because this is, again, all really relatively new for me. I'm a longtime collector who's now looking at, wow, I can turn this stuff into money if I wanted to, so investing. But I'm looking at things that I know is kind of hot. I'm going after the same thing everybody else is going after. The Rocks, the Hogans, the Flairs, the Andres, the Stone Colds. And you start seeing on social media, there's like new things, like, oh, there's these stickers that are like got these rookie stuff, people stuff. I mean, you pulled an excellent one recently of The Rock. I saw.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's awesome though, man.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm looking at things. I mean, looking at the Cenas and the Ortons and the Batistas and the Brock Lesnars. And by the way, I have that Lesnar card. It's definitely for you. So
thanks. Yep.
But
that's a PC item, by the way, not a flip item.
Yeah. Because I know that you like to collect them. And so I had it from a while back ago, and I came across it, and I go, I think Zhan's going to like this one. So
thank you.
But yeah, I'm learning. So, I mean, if I'm somebody new like that, what would you tell somebody who's looking to, invest? I mean, you are an investor basically on that side?
I've got two ways to do it, and they're both extremely affordable. One thing that I don't think people realize, I started everything with $10. And now I've got a full set of 82, 83 All Stars. I've got, I don't know how many 98 Comic Images rock card. I could just go on and on. I've got all this stuff that everybody wants, and I started with $10. The thing I did is I looked at things no one else was looking at, and everything that I've taken a chance on has worked out. And it may not have gone from $2 to 2,000. It may have went from 2 to 10, but then that 10 went to 15, and that 15 went to 20. So
Mm-hmm.
when everybody else was chasing that 97 rock card, I was buying the Comic Images cards, and I was buying some of his other stuff. And I'm still buying some of the stuff. I think a lot of the rock modern stuff is super underrated. It actually is some of the best looking rock cards there are, and nobody's looking at it. You can
Yeah,
right.
they're amazing, and that's exactly what I'm going after myself. Is I have so much, and I'm going through like these thousands of singles that I have from all this product that I used to open in the late '90s, early 2000s, and I'm going. I'm going to start just keeping these. I'm going to start keeping all the ones that I know that I think are going to have some long-term value towards, learning from watching what you've been picking up and what you're keeping. So and kind of going, I'm going out and keeping these rock cards. I'm keeping these Stone Cold cards. I think stuff like China stuff. I think China is undervalued.
Could
I
be,
really think
yeah.
that. I think it is, and I'm just going to be picking up what I can from that. Um, so I'm kind of learning as I'm going along, and I'm having fun doing it. It's a little frustrating for me. It sometimes can be a little overwhelming because I'm not sure if I'm making a sound investment or making a sound decision on something. But it's like stock. Like again, I'm just taking a gamble on something, and if it's low end where I'm only spending a couple dollars here or $5 there, I'm not out of a ton of money. I'm going to be
Exactly.
out
Yep.
only a little.
And the other thing I like to do on that is buy collections. Like,
Me,
sight
yes.
sight unseen, somebody's like, hey, I've got 2,000 wrestling cards, how much can you give me? And I'll try to make a deal to where if I can sell those cards for $1 a piece, you do the math on that.
Yeah.
And then I just roll that into bigger cards, and that's what I
Yep.
started with $10 and just worked my way up. Usually the super, like, I
But
got
you have to let people know that you may, when you say something like that, it actually sounds, oh, that's it. All I have to do is invest $10, and I can. There's a lot of work involved in doing that as well. It's not
yes.
just I took my $10 and all of a sudden, flip, boom, 10 days later I just made $1,000. It just doesn't work that way. There's a
No.
lot of work involved in that. Can you explain that process?
Yeah, that $10 box of 3,000 cards that are as a three row count. So it's like, I don't know, 3,000 cards in there. I still have a lot of those cards, and that was like 3 years ago. I'm still selling out of that. I recouped that $10 by selling $2 or $3 out, or 2 or 3 cards out of that box alone within like the first. I think it took 2 weeks for 2 cards to sell. That ended up making all of my money back on that initial cost. So at that point, every other card you sell is house money, and then you just keep rolling that money. That profit comes in. You don't go buy anything else with it unless it's something to just reinvest and keep it going. But it can take days, months, years to do it. It's a slow process, but it's a definitely proven way to grind things out. So that's one way I like to do it. And then the middle way I already kind of talked about is buying popular wrestlers cards that people aren't looking at. So when people are buying,
But are there other popular wrestlers that people aren't looking at? I mean, who are wrestlers that you would define as people aren't looking at? I mean, everybody's looking at Cena. They're looking at Batista. I really think they are. I don't think there's any secret about those guys. Rock is household name. Stone Cold, we have our legends.
well, for example, Cena's one of the bigger names in wrestling. So let's transition this over to sports for a minute. If you take some of the, like Kobe Bryant, his autographs are ridiculous. I see John Cena sell autographs sell for $30, $40,
Mm-hmm.
but yet people want the rookie card, and they're paying 1,000 for a graded copy. So I think there's an arbitrage there between like a serial number autograph and a rookie. There's a different market for different cards, but I just see the $40, $1,500. There's a huge gap there. And then you
Mm-hmm.
can also do the, what I would say is like penny stocks, especially if you're a modern fan. Karrion Kross. I don't know if you're familiar with him on the.
Yes. Oh
Okay,
yeah. We did an appearance with him at the Wrestling Guy store
man,
once.
that
Great guy.
guy's like, no pun intended, that guy's killer because that's the guy's name. But say you're a huge fan of his, you can load up on the finest or chrome cards that he has, and for next to nothing right now, and just fingers crossed and hope that that pans off. Now, I don't like to do that very often because I think you get too much money built up in low end. That's why I like to balance everything out. So got the low end stuff that I don't care what it does. Got the mid range stuff like the underpriced Cena, underpriced Rock. I'll tell you another example of that is the Stone Cold Steve Austin. Everybody was looking at those 97
Hmm.
trivia cards. I jumped to the 98 because no one was looking at
Oh,
them.
I love the comic image
Yeah.
stuff, man. That's
when
awesome.
when people started, or no, excuse me, I skipped to the 98 trivia because nobody's
Oh,
looking at
98
them.
trivia.
And then people started looking at those. I went back to the 98 comic images. People
I'll
started
tell you what
looking.
else I think is a good one to look at too is both the SmackDown and SmackDown Chrome.
Yeah, the chrome ones are great.
Yeah, those are
So
awesome.
I'll do that, and then I end up rolling that money into bigger like pieces. So I bought that Ric Flair card that I flexed all over social media because it's my favorite
Yeah,
Ric Flair card ever. There's only
it's a
two of them
killer
ever
looking
made.
card.
Yeah,
Love that card.
and I think I paid around 200 for that, which still isn't bad considering there's only two in existence.
I think it's a steal, man.
Yeah, but for most people that would be, well, some people that'd be a high end card. But I feel comfortable putting money in a Ric Flair, a Hulk Hogan, a Rock, so I'm
Well,
not
yeah,
gonna.
those are proven commodities. So I mean,
Exactly.
it's easy. It's like buying a Coke or Apple.
Yep. So that's what I do. I've got my proven commodities, my somewhat proven that could go either way, and then my penny stocks that if they go to nothing, I don't care. That's
Yeah,
just kind of how I like to do it. And
not
hopefully,
smart.
yeah, it's worked so far. And that kind of leads me into my next our final note here is just being smart on where you put your money. So you as a if I don't know how to describe this, like if you're coming in as like a modern fan or maybe you used to watch wrestling, like by default, what do you think the average collector does when they're spending money?
What I think they do,
Yeah, so like I'm coming in because I want to quote invest in wrestling cards. What do you think they're
what I think they do or they should do.
both?
What I think they should do is always do your homework.
Absolutely. That was the
I
first
think
thing
that
I was going to say.
I think it's the one thing that people who get into the hobby just don't do. They see something and they say, "Oh, The Rock," and they just buy Rock stuff without really knowing what it is they're really buying.
Hmm.
I think it really is important that you should do your homework. You should ask questions within a community. I mean, we live in a world now where we have all this social media access. We have all these different discussions and groups and discords and Twitters and Facebooks and all these different things that it's very easy to jump into a community of people and get out there and discuss, ask questions. It's not, no one's going to give you, any crap about asking questions because you're just bringing more eyes on the product, which makes your investment as an old timer, I think, more valuable. Um, you know, Especially for those who have never collected before or haven't collected in a long time, I think you should come in there and always ask questions and do your homework. Not every release needs to be bought, especially if you're looking for specific cards. And you oftentimes find what you need on the secondary market for way less than buying a box, anyways,
Yeah, I
as we
think
talked about before.
right. Your first point too is 100%. Like I don't care how much money you have. If you just come in and you're buying the top thing that everybody else is buying, regardless of the cost, without putting any effort and homework into it, it's pretty risky. I don't care what it is, even if it was, because let's just say hypothetically it was like an 85 Hogan or an 82 Hogan. It's not going to go down, but you still may be overpaying for what, like, three times the amount that it average goes for. I don't know. Or you could be throwing money at the latest new star who may not even pan out and pay hundreds. And I've seen it.
Yeah, you're like, I think this Lacey Evans is going somewhere, man. I'm gonna invest in everything in her possible. I mean, you don't know.
You don't know. It could work. It might not. And I think it's good to think that way. And I think it's good to spend some money on that, but not the high end stuff personally, unless you're a player collector. And then, you do you.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I just think it's important that you do homework. I mean, I'm jumping back in after years of not collecting at all. But I'm not jumping back in as a collector now. I'm kind of jumping back in as to, okay, what can potentially have some value. I mean, yeah, I've gotten some of the newer releases that came out, and some of them have been, you know, gifted to me, I should say. I've been able to, from my YouTube channel, I've gotten some product to actually, you know, open up and then plug my local stores like that to help them out. And so I haven't had a lot of money invested in new stuff, although I did buy a box of Undisputed and was like grossly disappointed. And you know what I got out of it, there's like no value from what I paid for that. Um, so again, lesson learned for me. I should have done my homework on it. It's like that. So you know what else could I? You did a great video on that. Like, you know, what else could I take in my $200 in and invest instead of buying a box of Undisputed? And like that is exactly what I should have done. I should have just said, you
Yeah.
know what, $200. I should go over here. I could probably buy myself. I could have bought myself, you know, 4 raw comic images rock cards.
Yeah.
It would have been worth way more.
Yep. And another thing I want to talk about, you mentioned that, you know, ask questions. I get DMs all the time, people asking me questions, and half the time it's questions of stuff that I've been looking at and I haven't purchased yet, but I still give them the correct answer. Like, if I think it's a good deal and they're underpriced, I'm like, yeah, that's a good deal and that's underpriced. You know, I'm not doing any of these shady tactics of trying to like pump and dump or saying, oh no, that's not a good deal, just so I can go out and personally buy those all up. I know that's a
Yeah,
common thing, but
it's very common.
I'm just trying to build a wrestling community.
Yeah, and it's a very competitive market out there with that kind of stuff. Especially, I noticed that in my other business for the Valor cards for the WWE Raw Deal card game, where it's nobody really wants to reveal where they're getting stuff from or what they're really looking for, man, because they don't want anybody else to, I want to just gobble it up for myself kind of thing. So it's kind of rare when you find someone like yourself who is very willing to go out there and help someone who asks questions. And I know I probably blow up your phone when I'm texting you. It's like I
It
going,
doesn't
hey,
bother
look what I
me.
found. Is this, take a picture of it, send it to you. Is this worth anything?
I
You
get
know, I'm like,
excited. I get excited when people are, you know, that excited about what they found or have a question, or it just means that they care. It's better than, you know, no one contacting me at all.
well, and I'm bombarding you with like non-wrestlers. Like, hey, is this statue worth anything? Is this car worth anything?
I love that stuff too. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, so it's just, but so I'm learning as I go along here. It's like that, and every week I seem like I get a little bit better at what I'm looking at, and I'm getting more motivated to kind of go out there and look for things. And I'm looking to buy when it comes to like large lots, take the gamble, throw out that 30, 40, 50, 60, $100 for a box of 3,000, 5,000, 10, whatever it is, like that, and just you know, roll the dice. I've been doing that locally here in Phoenix, where I've you know, I bought a box for $30 or whatever it was of, and the guy literally had a box. It was a flat rate box. Just all the cards were shoved in a flat rate box. And I went through it, and I found some comic image stuff in there that I was pretty
There you
happy
go.
with. And I found some you know, some Jericho you know, from you know, WCW 99 98. Yeah, just some oddball things. I thought, hey, I'm gonna make my money off this eventually.
Yeah, and I don't know about you. I'll speak for myself, and then you can give your opinion. But once I started getting into the game of money with the cards, not like trying to make a lot of money, but just the whole game of buying and selling, that almost became as fun to me as actually collecting.
That's where I'm at right now. I think I'm getting to that threshold. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like the collecting aspect of it, there was that rush and that high of like chasing after something and
Mm-hmm.
claiming, I got it in my collection. You put it however you want to store it, which is a whole different topic. And then you know, you can display it and all the things. And but now I'm getting that same kind of thrill. Like I just found a great deal, man. I got this. It's awesome.
Yep.
I just invested some money on it. It's got a great deal on these 87 tops. This is awesome.
Yep. And just to kind of piggyback on everything we said, you're talking about newer stuff, and I was talking about giving out plays. One other play I've been looking at, just specifically for the show, if you're listening, just so I can be transparent. You say like, oh, I'm not into as much of the modern stuff, and I've seen a lot of people doing that. However, if you start looking at, say, I'm going to call modern like 2012, say, to
Sure.
now, there are so many good Legends cards in there that are numbered, paralleled.
They're
Just
awesome cards, man. They
yep.
made some beautiful cards.
So I'm just gonna say everybody should go.
Even the new stuff, like even like brand new stuff. It's funny you say that. I'm going to hold this up for the viewers maybe at some point in time. But you know, even this,
Yeah,
It's numbered to 25.
That's great.
It's a great card of Stone Cold Steve Austin, from the Undisputed.
Yep.
It's just a beautiful cards like that. And I think those things are going to have, these are iconic legend people. So there's always going to be value in these people.
So there you go. As we close out the show, we kind of gave you a play of something under the radar to look for. So anything else before we get out of here?
I think we're good on that one, man.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe, leave us a review if you like the show, and share all over all the social platforms because that's the best way for people to hear us. And until next time, see you, wrestling fans.
See ya.